Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I have another deck review. So today I will be reviewing the Black Violet Tarot by Heidi Phelps. This is a deck that I've had for a couple of years now, and I have truly enjoyed not just how beautiful the artwork is on this deck, but how it reads. It is one of these decks that I probably wouldn't have picked up on my own, but I have very much enjoyed it. Now, this is an 80 card deck, so there are 2 extra cards included, but it is beautiful. It's a beautiful deck. And I know some people don't like these larger boxes. They can be kind of cumbersome for storage. I really love the guidebook, and it's a stunning deck. It's very feminine focused. So if you're someone that maybe wants to have more feminine leaning decks, this would be a good one to have in your collection, especially if you are more into like subtle art that isn't super detailed or super intense. So I really have enjoyed the guidebook as well. Some of the card reading spreads in here have also been great for my just kind of day-to-day practice. I think it's a very well done deck. Especially if you're someone that is like, again, just wanting something a little bit simpler, something a little bit nicer. So as you can tell, my deck is a little curved. So the cardstock, it may not be the nicest or the most luxurious feeling cardstock, but it does, you know, it hasn't been chipping, it hasn't been flaking. And again, I don't use this one as much. For a while, I was using it as like the deck I was using quite like as like a daily deck, if that makes sense. Since I have so many, I tend to kind of go and do different ones. So like you can tell, like the art is very simplistic, but it is enough to be very striking. The backs are reversible, and the cardstock does kind of bend back again because of how I shuffle. I think it's just kind of affected how the cards sit now. So that is something that you are very picky with when it comes to the actual cardstock. I would definitely kind of keep that in mind. But I have found that this deck, it reads very well. It is very easy for anyone to really pick up, and it has kind of the more traditional kind of Rider-Waite-Smith associations and kind of Rider-Waite-Smith influenced artwork. There's some that have kind of their own take on certain things, but you'll be able to pick this up, especially if you're someone that maybe depends on like the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery to kind of do readings. I do like that the actual entire card name is all the way written out on each of the cards, especially with some of these that maybe have slightly different imagery on them. And again, if you're someone that's like maybe kind of new to tarot, I think that also makes it a little bit easier. But there's some really fun, whimsical, kind of interesting, and again, very feminine focused artwork here. Like I love the 6 of Swords. I think it's stunning. It's a black and white tarot. So there's a lot of use of like that negative space and things like that to kind of make a visual impact, which I do really enjoy. Things like this where, you know, again, it's all feminine. So that might be something to kind of keep in mind. I like that it's not always all pip cards. This is going to be one of the extra cards. It's Coven, and then I think the other one's called Ghost. So they have their own separate meanings in the guidebook. So you can kind of have a little bit of an interpretation of those cards, or you can kind of make up, I guess, your own associations with it. So I think Coven is more of just like coming together with others, and I think Ghost is kind of like that energy that we've been hanging on to that maybe is no longer in alignment with what we're trying to do. So it's a stunning deck. If you are looking, there's the Ghost card. So yeah, so these 2 cards are going to be the extra 2 cards that are added into the traditional 78 cards. in the guidebook, it's like ghost is going to be haunting, regret, and self-compassion. So it's like a woman being confronted by a ghost that is holding out a bouquet of flowers as a gift or peace offering. So it's just kind of showing that. And then for coven, we also have sisterhood, solidarity, and secrets. So this is talking about to be the counterpart of the Three of Cups, a card of sisterhood, solidarity, and friendship. Celebrates the ideas in a light, airy way. The coven represents close friendships as a form of protection. So, and I do love that there is the reversed meanings in each of the cards, or a interpretation for each of the cards. I think it's fantastic, especially if you're someone that is maybe a little bit newer to reversals. It's very hard to kind of find decks that include a longer reversed meaning. So it is very nice, especially if you're trying to kind of build up your practice, get a little bit more familiar with reversed meanings, so that things can feel a little bit less like, you know, like a challenge. So I have very much enjoyed this deck. It is one that kind of, again, unexpectedly came into my practice, and now I don't think I can I think this one will definitely stay with the decks that I currently have and use quite often. I'm pretty selective about what decks I have been keeping in my, especially when it comes to tarot decks. I'm very like, they either have to be very beautiful in the artwork and something that really speaks to me, kind of like the Tarot Mucha, or the ethereal tarot, things like that, where I'm just like, the artwork is so stunning that I'm like, I just want to keep it for like it being like a piece of art. And then things like this, where not only is it stunning to me, I think that it also reads very easily and very well. For how it shuffles, cardstock, things like that, I think it shuffles very well. Again, this is a mass-produced deck. It's published by Rockpool. My cards do have a little bit of a bend. I think it's just from kind of holding it, and even though I've tried to kind of bend it back. And as you can see, there's a little bit of flaking from the gilding and edges. And again, that's just from my heavy use of this deck. I think that that's just kind of par for the course and to be expected if you are actually physically using your deck quite often. I've noticed it with my older decks and things like that, where it just happens, especially if it's a very well-loved deck. Like my Psychic Tarot Oracle by John Holland is one of those that has just been overly used, and so the gilding has kind of just really just scratched off. It is very much like this. It's been very well loved and well used, so there's a little bit of this kind of energy. I think with these decks that you actually use quite often, where, I mean, again, they're just pieces of paper, so eventually they will kind of break down, especially with a lot of use, a lot of shuffling, things like that, if you're not super careful with how you shuffle. But as far as the cardstock, it's not super thick. Again, it's bendy. It's kind of this eggshell kind of matte, which I do like because it does video very well. And so there's not a lot of that glare, a lot of that shininess. The book has a matte finish, and again, because it is a black and white deck, it's not full color. But I really have enjoyed this deck. I really like the interpretations, the writing in the guidebook as well. So if you have been curious as to what my opinions were on this deck, especially if you've seen it on my channel or have seen me use it in different videos, I've very much enjoyed this deck. I think it's a beautiful deck, especially if you are someone that really connects to more feminine leaning decks, and you are looking for something like that, where there is that representation of just female characters in the entire deck. This is going to be a very nice one to have in your collection. And if you are like a fan of just black and white art, I think that's also a good one to kind of have. And for me, I feel like this deck reads very well. It is very easy to translate. It gives me pretty clear messaging. I've never felt like it is a deck that is challenging, because I know in my practice, I've had a couple over the years that tend to be a little bit more of like a challenge. And so I know there's some decks that I do have that I'm like, I don't think I'm ready to understand and decipher how this deck reads. I kind of feel like that for my Hermetic Tarot, and then like the Thoth Tarot. Both of those, I feel like sometimes it's like, what are you trying to tell me? So yeah, this is my deck review on the Black Violet Tarot by Heidi Phelps. I think it's a stunning deck. Let me know what you guys think. Is this a deck that you've had on your radar? Is this a deck that you have in your collection? Let me know what you think about this deck, how you feel about this deck. For me, it's been a beautiful addition into my practice, and especially for like my own personal reading. So I wanted to thank you so much for joining me. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.